Chosen one. Take one breath before anything else. Just one breath. Notice what is happening in your chest right now. Is there a heaviness there? Not the kind that keeps you in bed in the morning. The other kind. The quiet kind that has been sitting with you for longer than you would like to admit, through days that looked ordinary on the outside, while something inside you was carrying more than the world around you ever knew about. You have not given up. Not completely. But there have been nights where a thought arrived. Soft, patient. It did not shout. It just sat there, and it whispered, "How much longer?" I am not going to rush past that to get to the good part, because the good part means nothing if it arrives without honoring what you have been walking through first. But I do want to tell you something before we go any further. Stay with me through everything I am about to share today, because by the time we reach the end of this, you will understand 3 things that will change the way you carry this season. You will understand why the week you are in right now is not ordinary, why everything you walked through was not wasted, and who you actually are standing at this threshold. That is what is waiting for you here. Stay. This matters. You have been holding something for a long time, not out of weakness, the opposite of that. The weight of what you are carrying requires a kind of strength that most people do not even know exists, and you have been carrying it quietly, without applause, without visible confirmation, without proof that the believing is working. There is a specific feeling that comes with that kind of carrying. A feeling like you are standing in a hallway and there is a door at the end, and you have been walking toward it longer than you expected. And you have started to wonder if the door is actually there, or if you have just been walking in a very well-lit illusion. Chosen one. That door is real. And here is what you have not been told yet. This specific week, the very one you almost did not make it to, was already scheduled long before you arrived in it. Something is moving. Something big. And it already has your name on it. Now I need to teach you something, because everything I am going to share only makes sense once you understand this first. There are 2 different kinds of time. The first kind is the kind you can measure. Seconds, minutes, weeks, deadlines, calendars. This is the time that tells you are behind. The kind that compares your chapter 3 to someone else's chapter 10. The kind that counts the months between the prayer and the answer and calls the distance delay. The ancient Greeks had a word for this kind of time. They called it chronos, sequential time, the clock on the wall kind. But they had a second word, and this second word changes everything. They called it Kairos. Kairos is not measured time. Kairos is appointed time. The moment when everything that has been building underground is cleared for arrival. The fullness of time, the right moment, the window that was always going to open, and when it does, nothing can hold it closed. Chronos can tell you what day it is. Chronos cannot tell you what kind of day it is. Only Kairos knows that. Here is what most people miss when they are in a waiting season. You are not behind on a Chronos schedule. You are on a Kairos one. The waiting you have experienced is not the universe forgetting you. It is a Kairos appointment, being prepared in a dimension where time works differently than the clocks on your wall. This week, your Chronos week and your Kairos appointment are about to overlap. I cannot give you a timestamp. I cannot tell you the hour. That is not how this works. But I can tell you what Kairos looks like when it is near, because it leaves fingerprints. And if you are honest with yourself right now, some of those fingerprints have already been showing up in your life. Certain people have been resurfacing after long seasons of silence, connections that went quiet now reaching back toward you in ways you did not orchestrate. Something in your dream life has become more vivid, more symbolic, like something deeper is trying to reach your waking mind. Opportunities you thought had permanently closed are reappearing in slightly different forms, as if the door did not close forever, but was redirecting. There is a quiet knowing sitting underneath the anxiety, separate from it, something that does not come from your emotions at all, but from somewhere deeper, and it keeps whispering that you are close. And there has been a strange stillness lately. Not emptiness, not numbness, but something more like a held breath before something begins. These are not coincidences. They are the fingerprints of a Kairos moment approaching. There is a woman in the ancient texts whose story I keep returning to. Her name was Esther, and the week that changed everything in her life did not arrive when she was ready. It arrived when she was terrified. She had been placed in a position she did not choose, in a season she did not fully understand, waiting in a palace that felt more like a holding room than a purpose. And at the exact moment when the fear was the loudest, a message arrived that said, "Who knows whether you have not come to the kingdom for such a time as this? Not someday, not when you are stronger, for such a time as this." She did not know that week was Kairos. She only knew it was hard, and yet the appointment was already written. I am not comparing your specific circumstances to hers. I am pointing to something that has been true across thousands of years of human story. The appointed week rarely announces itself. It arrives inside what looks like an ordinary stretch of days, and it requires someone with Kairos eyes to recognize it. You are developing those eyes. And if you understood only this, that your waiting is not Chronos failure but Kairos positioning, that alone would be worth everything I could say to you today. But there is something I have not told you yet, about what your waiting season has actually been doing to you. Because most people completely misread what happened in the long stretch. And when you understand what it really was, everything in the last several months, maybe the last several years, is going to look entirely different. The season you have been in was not an accident. It was not empty, even when it felt that way. Most people in a long waiting season land in one of two interpretations. Either something went wrong, or they are not enough. Either the promise was never real, or they somehow disqualified themselves from it along the way. Both of those interpretations lead to the same place. A slow, quiet giving up that does not happen all at once but piece by piece, until one day you realize the fire is still there, but you stopped feeding it some time ago. Neither interpretation is accurate, and I want to show you what was actually happening. The wilderness, this long stretch you have been walking through, has a curriculum. It is not punishment. It is not abandonment. It is the most intensive formation process that exists in a human life. 3 things are built in the wilderness that cannot be built anywhere else. The first is roots, not height. The tree that survives the storm is not the tallest tree in the forest. It is the tree whose roots run so deep that wind becomes irrelevant. You cannot build a root system while you are rising. It is built in the dark, in the hidden place, under the surface, before anyone can see you. And, for the last season of your life, while you watched others move ahead of you on timelines you could not understand, your root system has been going deeper than anything visible from the outside will ever show. The second thing built in the wilderness is character, not gifting. And this distinction matters more than most people realize. Gifts without character cannot hold the weight of what Kairos delivers. The promotion, the relationship, the resources, these things arrive with weight, and if the person receiving them has not been formed to carry that weight, they break what they were meant to build. The wilderness does not hold you back from your gifts. It builds the person who can actually sustain them. The third thing is the ability to discern which voice is real. In the noise and the busyness of a full, distracted life, dozens of voices compete for your attention and your direction. Fear sounds like wisdom. Ego sounds like calling. Other people's opinions about your timeline sound like the truth. But in the wilderness, in the long stretches of stillness where there is no applause and no confirmation, you learn the sound of the one voice that matters. And once you know that sound, you cannot be fully deceived by the others. I am not saying the hard season was easy. I am saying it was not empty. There was a young man in the ancient story whose name was Joseph. He had been given a dream, a vision of something so significant that even he did not fully understand it. And then, in the very same season that the dream arrived, everything fell apart. He was betrayed by the people closest to him. He was falsely accused. He was forgotten by someone who had promised to remember. And he sat in a prison for years, and he waited. 13 years, from the dream to the palace. What most people overlook in that story is this. When Joseph finally stood before Pharaoh, when the moment he had been waiting for over a decade finally arrived, he was not simply a man with a gift. He was a man who had been shaped at the exact level of the assignment waiting for him. The pit had removed the arrogance, the false accusation had built the character, the prison had taught him how to lead in the dark, and when the door finally opened, there was nothing left in him that would break under the weight of what was on the other side. Whatever your belief system, whatever tradition you carry, this pattern repeats. Significant elevation requires significant formation. And your formation is not behind, it is completing. I want to give you a picture that I think about often when I consider what happens in a long waiting season. Think of a seed buried underground in winter. From above the surface, nothing is happening. The ground looks the same today as it did last week. And yet underneath, the shell of the seed is breaking open. The root is reaching down into the soil before the shoot can ever push up toward the light. And the transformation that will look sudden when the green first appears above ground was never sudden at all. It was always the result of everything that happened underground, in the dark, in the silence, before anyone could see it. You are a seed that has been underground, and chosen one. The breaking is almost over. Now I need to pause here and share something with you that connects directly to what I have been teaching. There is a dimension to this preparation that most conversations about spiritual seasons completely overlook. And it has to do with what happens to your brain during years of extended stress and waiting. Scientists have been studying this for decades, and what the neuroscience shows is both sobering and deeply hopeful at the same time. God built your brain with something called gamma waves. The researchers who have studied these frequencies from MIT, from Harvard, from Princeton and Stanford describe gamma as the frequency of your highest thinking. The brainwave state linked to intuition, to that sudden clear knowing, to the creative breakthrough that arrives not through effort but through clarity. When a child is young, gamma is active and natural. Learning is fast, creativity is constant. There is a quality in children that we call wonder, that sense of everything being possible, everything being connected. But something happens. A neuroscientist named Dr. Robert Lake, who spent 34 years studying this pattern, backed by research from multiple major universities, calls it the decline effect. The chronic stress, the noise, the sustained pressure of modern life, these things begin to quiet the gamma frequency, not suddenly, gradually. The way a fire does not go out all at once. It just gets quieter and quieter and quieter until what was once a steady blaze has become an ember. This is what happened to your mind during the long season. Not because you failed, because you were human in the middle of an impossible set of circumstances. Dr. Lake developed a 7-minute audio track using what is called brain entrainment technology. Specific sound frequencies that the brain responds to naturally, the way a tuning fork responds to the right note and begins to resonate again at its God-given gamma frequency. Not through years of meditation practice, not through $7,000 worth of biofeedback equipment, through 7 minutes of sound, wearing headphones, sitting still, beginning with the very first session. This is not a replacement for faith. I want to say that clearly. This is a tool, a scientific one backed by real neuroscience. The breakthrough scheduled for your week was written before your brain needed restoration. But there is something significant about arriving at a Kairos appointment with the mental clarity and the gamma level reception that God originally wired into you. The still small voice becomes clearer. The knowing becomes sharper. The intuition that was always there becomes accessible again. To have a biofeedback therapist work with your brainwaves in a clinical setting costs around $300 per hour. Home biofeedback equipment runs close to $7,000. The Genius Song delivers the same core technology in a single 7-minute audio file. The standard price is $49, but because Dr. Lake wanted this available to people who are genuinely in the season I have been describing, it is available at $39 for anyone who finds this message, not on Amazon, not on any other platform, only through the link in the description and the pinned comment here. With it come 4 additional tools at no extra cost. An audio track designed specifically for children to activate focus and confidence. The original book that inspired the film most people know about, Manifestation, the real source material, available for $20 on Amazon and included here for free. A guided visualization covering 4 areas of life, and a printed framework of the 5 most important habits for building the life you are moving toward. One important note before I continue: there are counterfeit versions of this circulating online, sites that copied the name without the technology inside it. They are ordinary audio files with none of the brain entrainment science. The only way to receive the genuine product with the full technology, all 4 bonuses, and the complete money-back guarantee is through the verified link in the description and the pinned comment. Please do not search for this elsewhere. If this is not the right moment for you, the link will be there whenever you are ready. Now, back to what I was showing you. Because knowing that the season formed you is powerful, but there is something equally important. How do you actually live well while the formation is finishing? How do you hold on when the holding is hard? Here is what I know about waiting well. Not enduring, not white-knuckling something until it breaks. Waiting well. The first practice is a shift in the question you are carrying. Most people in a waiting season spend their energy asking, when? When will this change? When will the door open? That question, while human and understandable, drains everything because it has no answer accessible to you today. The question that changes the experience entirely is this: what is this season forming in me right now? Not as resignation, as active attention. When you shift to that question, the waiting stops being empty and starts being purposeful. The second practice is identity before outcome. Each day of your waiting season, speak aloud what is already true about you. Not what you hope to become, not what you are trying to earn, but what you already are. This is not positive thinking, this is reception. A chosen one does not speak identity to earn it. They speak it to receive what was assigned before they were born. We will come back to this in a moment, because there is something I need to tell you about who you actually are, and it is the most important thing I have come here to say. The third practice is 1 aligned action per day. Kairos arrives into a life in motion. Not a desperate action, not a performance, not an attempt to manufacture the outcome you are waiting for. Just one thing, today, that reflects who you are, rather than what you are waiting for. The seed pushes up when the conditions are ready, but it pushes. Small, aligned, rooted movement every single day. I told you at the beginning that I had not yet told you the most important part, and I have not. Because everything I have shared here, the Kairos time, the wilderness formation, the tools for waiting well, all of it is pointing towards something that I need to say to you clearly. And it is not what you think is standing between you and what has been scheduled. The thing that is standing between you and what has been scheduled for you is not your circumstances. It is not the people who did not choose you. It is not the doors that did not open. It is not the resources that have not arrived yet. Those are real challenges, and I am not dismissing any of them, but they are not the obstacle. What consistently keeps chosen ones from stepping into what was prepared for them lives much closer than any external circumstance. It is on the inside, and it activates at a very specific moment. It activates right at the threshold. You know what I am describing. You have felt it. The moment when something good begins to move toward you, a connection that feels right, an opportunity that opens, a sense that this is finally the moment, and something inside you shifts, not toward it, away from it. Suddenly there are reasons it is not going to work. You pull back from the relationship that was growing. You delay the action that would move things forward. You create friction in the thing that was beginning to heal. You do it quietly, often without fully realizing it, and afterward you wonder why you did. This is not a character flaw. This is not evidence that you are not chosen. This is what fear looks like when it is cornered. Here is what happened. During the long season, the waiting, the rejection, the closed doors, your nervous system was doing what it was designed to do. It was learning to survive in a smaller space. It built a ceiling at the height where safety lived. It did this to protect you, to keep you from hoping too hard for something that might be taken away again. That system was wise in its time. It kept you safe when small was all that was available. But now something bigger is arriving, and the system that was built for the smaller space does not know how to receive it. So it does the only thing it knows. It shrinks the incoming thing back down to the size that feels survivable. This shows up as sudden doubt the day after the clearest sense of direction you have had in months. It shows up as pulling away from exactly the person or the opportunity that was finally moving the right way. It shows up as the thought, quiet, rational sounding, that says this is probably too good to be true. And underneath all of it, if you sit with it long enough and go all the way down to the root, you will find a belief that has been there since long before you fully understood it. It sounds like this: I do not actually deserve this. I want to speak to that belief directly. It was installed, not innate. It came from seasons, from voices, from experiences that had no right to set the ceiling of your life. It came through a door that should have been guarded, and it has been operating as truth ever since, quietly in the background, standing guard at the threshold of every good thing that has tried to reach you. It is not the truth. There is a pattern in the ancient story of a people who walked out of slavery, crossed a wilderness, and finally arrived at the border of the land that had been promised to them from the very beginning. They could see it. They were standing at the edge of it, and they turned back. Not because the land was not real, because 40 years of a slave identity had installed a ceiling in them that the wilderness had not yet fully dismantled. They looked at what was promised and thought, we are like grasshoppers compared to what lives in that land. The promise was real. The appointment was real. The obstacle was inside them. I am not predicting your geography or your timeline. I am pointing to something that has been true across human experience from the very beginning. The final obstacle is always at the threshold, and it always wears the face of self-doubt, dressed in the clothes of reasonable caution. I want you to do something right now. Stay exactly where you are. Do not move. Just let yourself go inward for a moment. Think of the specific version of this in your own life, not in general terms. Specifically, what is the exact thought that arrives when something good begins to move toward you? What does your version of "I do not deserve this" actually sound like in the private space of your mind? Find the exact words. Say them in your mind so clearly that they become visible to you, rather than operating from the shadows below your awareness. Because the moment a thing is named, it loses the power that came from being unnamed. A fear that lives in the dark is enormous. The same fear, brought into the light and called by its real name, becomes something you can address rather than something that addresses you. You are not what that voice says. You never were. And I want to leave you with a picture before we move into the final and most important thing I came here to say. Think about the caterpillar inside the cocoon. It does not know it is becoming a butterfly. It only experiences dissolution. Everything it was, the form, the function, the familiar way of moving through the world, all of it breaks down. And from the outside, if you did not know what you were looking at, it would appear to be death. It would appear to be ending. But it is not ending. The dissolution is not the failure. The dissolution is the mechanism. It is the specific process that makes the new form possible. And without it, there is no butterfly. There is only a caterpillar that stayed. What feels like falling apart in your life right now is not your story ending. It is the specific process that makes what comes next possible. The Kairos is real. The formation is complete. The obstacle has been named. Now, I want to tell you the most important thing I came here to say. The thing that all of this, every layer, every truth, was building toward. I told you at the beginning that something big is already scheduled for this week, and I meant every word of that. But I need you to understand what something big actually is. Most people hear that and they picture an event. A phone call that changes the direction of everything. A financial door opening. A relationship finally arriving. A breakthrough that comes from outside and lands in your life. Those things are real. Those things can absolutely be part of what a Kairos week holds. I am not taking any of that off the table. But they are the expression of something deeper, something that must happen first, something that, when it happens, makes all of those other things possible in a way they never were before. The something big that is scheduled for this week is not primarily what is about to come to you. It is what is about to come out of you. Let me say that again, because it is the whole thing. The breakthrough is not an external event arriving from outside your life. The breakthrough is you, the real you, the fully formed you, the you that was always there, underneath everything that was covering it, finally becoming visible. To yourself, to the world, to the people, and the opportunities that have been waiting for the whole version of you to step forward. Everything I shared with you today builds to this single point. The Kairos time is not just a window for a circumstance to change, it is a window for an identity to emerge. The wilderness was not preparing you for an event, it was preparing a person. The obstacle at the threshold was not keeping you from a door, it was the last resistance before the truest version of you took one more step forward. And chosen one, the truest version of you, has been building underground for longer than you know. The root system is deep, the formation is real, the naming has happened, and the seed, your seed, is about to break through the surface. Let me tell you who you are, not who you might become someday, who you already are, who you were assigned to be before you were born, and who the long season has been building into its full expression, and who is standing at this threshold right now. You are a spiritual warrior, not a warrior who fights with volume or force, a warrior who holds. When everything says collapse, when the pressure reaches the height where most people let go, you remain. Not because you are made of something superior, because you are rooted. This week, when the moments arrive that test whether you actually received what I just said, and some of them will, you will hold, not through clenching, through knowing. You are a seer. You perceive what others cannot yet see. The shift that is already happening around you and in you, part of you knows it. That quiet inner knowing that something is close, that the prayer is being answered even in the silence, that is not wishful thinking. That is your seer nature operating exactly as it was designed to. This week, trust what you are perceiving, even before it becomes visible to the surface eye. What you know in the deep place is already ahead of what you can prove. You are a hope restorer. You carry something in your presence, in the way you show up, in the way you refuse to completely release what matters, even when you are exhausted, that revives things in other people they had quietly given up on. The hope you restore in someone else this week begins with the hope you agree to receive for yourself today. When you allow yourself to be truly encouraged, without deflecting, without minimizing, you become the person tomorrow who can do that for someone standing where you were last month. You are a cycle breaker. What ends in you does not continue forward. The pattern of almost, but not quite. The inherited ceiling. The story that said, this is as far as people like us go. It ends here. Not because you earned an exception, because you were the one assigned to be the last generation of that particular limitation. The cycle breaks in you, and what comes after you gets to stand on different ground because of what you held through in this season. These are not things you are applying for. You are not performing your way into them. You are not hoping they might become true someday. You are claiming what was assigned to you before you were born. And the posture for receiving something that was always yours is not reaching, it is opening. So this week, the Kairos week, the scheduled week, here is how you carry it. You enter it knowing that something is already in motion that you cannot manufacture and cannot cancel, not arrogantly, quietly. The way someone carries a secret that is about to become public. When the self-doubt pattern activates, and it may, because thresholds do that to people who are close to something real, you name it. You say in the private space of your mind, this is fear at the threshold, this is not truth. And then you take one small aligned step anyway, not a desperate step, a rooted one. You speak who you are each day of this week, not as performance, not as spiritual exercise, as reception. The warrior who holds, the seer who perceives, the hope restorer, the cycle breaker. You say it because it was always true, and the speaking is how you receive it. And you watch with Kairos eyes. You notice the fingerprints, the conversation that should not have happened but did, the thought that arrived at exactly the right moment, the door that looked like a wall and turned out to be a corridor. Pay attention to those things. They are the appointed moment, arriving in ordinary packaging. You are not late. You are not forgotten. You are not here by accident. You are exactly where you were always meant to be, in the week that was always written for you, carrying roots that nothing in this life can take back. Something big is already scheduled, and chosen one, you are ready to receive it. Let me close this with you the way I believe this moment deserves, not with a summary, with something sacred. Come with me here. God, we begin with gratitude, not for the easy seasons, for the ones that almost broke everything, for the weeks when this chosen one showed up in faith and the silence was the only response they received, for the prayers offered in empty rooms, for the mornings when they got up anyway, for the believing that continued even when it cost more than they expected to pay. None of that was unseen. None of it was wasted. We are grateful, not because the hard season was comfortable, but because it was never abandoned. And we acknowledge something now. You see every prayer that was offered and still not yet answered. You see every dream held quietly, every door knocked on that did not open, every faithful step taken without visible confirmation. You see the specific kind of tired that only comes to someone who has been carrying something real for a long time and still chose not to let it go. This chosen one has been seen completely. In the private moments, in the ones they would never show the world, in the ones where the only witness was you. And that seeing is its own kind of answer. Now we release. We release the story that says, it is too late. We release it. We release the ceiling that was installed in a season that is now over. We release it. We release comparison with timelines that were never ours to run. We release it. We release the performance posture, the trying to earn what was already freely given. We release it. We release the self-sabotage pattern that rises at the threshold of good things. We release it. We release the old identity built for surviving in a smaller space. We release it. We release the fear of actually receiving what we have been asking for. We release it. We release every doubt that arrived, wearing the face of wisdom. We release it. It is done. Those things have no authority over this week. Now we activate. We call forth the full identity of this chosen one, the spiritual warrior, the seer, the hope restorer, the cycle breaker. Not as a prayer that it will someday be true, but as a declaration that it is true, that it was always true, that the formation has completed and the person standing at this threshold is ready. We activate the divine connections that have been prepared for this Kairos season, the right people, the ones whose paths have been arranged to cross this one at exactly the right moment. We call them forward. The doors that have been held closed not by failure but by timing, we declare that the time is now. We align provision with purpose. What this chosen one needs to walk fully into what was scheduled, the clarity, the resources, the right relationships, the renewed energy, we align it, not as a distant hope, as an immediate activation. We protect what is rising. Guard the threshold moment from self-sabotage that knows exactly when to show up. Cover what is being built from premature exposure before it is fully rooted. And what has been lifted in this season, let nothing pull it back down. And now we declare, I am the spiritual warrior. I hold. I am the seer. I perceive what is already moving. I am the hope restorer. The cycle ends in me. I am the chosen one. Something big was already scheduled for this week, and I receive it. Say that wherever you are right now, in the quiet of where you are sitting or lying or driving. Say it in the space that only you and God share. Not because you earned it, because it was always true. And the speaking is how you receive it. It is done. It is sealed. We receive it. And so it is. Amen. If this landed where it needed to land today, if something in what I shared touched the place that needed touching, I want you to type one word in the comments right now. Scheduled. Just that word. So I know this message found the person it was meant for. And if there is one person in your life who is at the edge of giving up on something they should not give up on, someone who is tired in the quiet way, who is close to releasing something that was always meant for them, share this with them. You might be the way this message arrives at exactly the right moment. The link for the 7-minute Gamma activation tool is in the description and the pinned comment for anyone who felt called to that part of what I shared today. One link, one verified source. There is no other place to find the genuine version. Go into this week knowing who you are. The schedule is already written. The formation is complete. The Kairos window is open. All that is left is to receive it.